I've got Studio open and I'm going to show you how SDLXLIFF Compare works inside Studio. So I've already installed the plugin and you'll see that I've got it down here in the view part in the projects view. What I want to do is to move it up here where I've already placed the toolkit, because I find it easier to use it and easier to see it if it's popped out up there. So just to show you how to move it again, in case you weren't sure how to do that, you need to pick it up out of here. You don't do it from the top, because if you do that you'll take the whole group. So you take it from the bottom, which gives you just that one, and then I drop it over here onto the left like that, and then I'm going to just resize it so that I can see everything I want to see inside there before I untick that. So turn off the docking and it should auto hide and slot into place like that. So now I'm ready to go. So a quick look at the application. I've got my two tabs: compare single files, just by dragging and dropping them into this window here. I can compare a directory of files by dragging and dropping two folders, and that could be two complete projects if I like. I'm going to show you that in a minute. There's a report output command down here, so I can specify the report directory. By default it will put the report in the same folder as the files which you're comparing, but you can change it and put something else there. You can also give it a custom name, and you can decide whether you want HTML or XML reports. And if you tick that little box, it will fire the report up as soon as you finish doing the comparison. So if we take a quick look at the settings over here, I click on the settings button. I've got my general settings, which I explain in the blog, so I'm not going to go through those now. Some report settings, so I can decide what I want to filter on. So perhaps I'll just uncheck everything so you can see everything. So what that does is, if you don't tick anything, then all the segments in the file will be included in the report, even the ones you don't change. And then I've got the custom style sheet, which I'm not using at the moment, but you can see I did have one there, so I'm going to show you how that works. Because I did some little modifications to one just to show you what you can do. Okay, so I'll save that, and what I'm going to do is start off by comparing a pair of files. So what I've done is I've got a couple of files here. Notice they've both got different timestamps. So the post-edited version, the one at the top, has been edited much later than the pre-translated one. So SDLXLIFF Compare will know immediately which one was the original one and which one is the updated. So I can just drag that pair of files and drop them straight into this window here like that. It puts them in the right place immediately. So PT for pre-translated, PE for post-edited, that's correct. And then I can just click on the little window. That runs a report pretty quickly and shows me a comparison between the two. It gives me some other information as well. It gives me the file path, so I know the original and updated of each of the files that have been compared, and then it tells me a few simple stats on it, so the total number of segments, the number of modifications, the status changes, the number of comments in the file, and then it gives me a rough idea of the different statuses that have been modified. And then as I scroll down through the file, what you can see is that I've got the ID column, which is numbered 1 to the end, and this is showing every single segment. Then it shows me the source segment, and then over here I've got the original target and then the updated target, so it shows me them both, and then gives me a comparison between the two, showing me the changes. So if it was a little unclear what was what, I can refer back to these and see them. It then gives me a few more statistics on the number of words or characters that were changed, and then shows me the modification percentage as well, which sort of represents a fuzzy match, if you like, which is quite good. Also shows me the comments. And the way this works is that if anything is crossed out in the status, it means that it has changed. So it's gone from draft to being translated. If I then look at the matches, because every single one of these says AT, I know that this was originally machine translated, most likely, and in this case I know it was. So this original source here, original target, is actually a machine translation. And then this column here with the target updated are the corrections that were made, if any. So you can see this first segment, for example, it's been confirmed and translated, but the AT status has not got across through it, so it has not changed. So in that one you can see immediately that the target was just accepted as was. So that can be quite useful, because you can flick down through a file and just see how much was just accepted and how much wasn't. If I made any changes to the machine translation, it'll be crossed out like that, and I'll see the changes as I do in this segment here, segment number 2. When I get a scenario like this, for example, where the original segment was probably this one at the top here, segment 22, so unable to delete, and then a little entity and percentage S, and 24 has been auto-propagated, which is what the 100% is showing from my TM. And it's showing me the change, which should match the change that was made originally in segment 22. So it gives you all the detail and also the comments, so things like that. Now what I can do is, if I come back to here again and go back to my report, if I felt that it was too busy, I can click on the settings, and on the report settings I can say just show me the stuff that's interesting. So only show me when the translation has been modified, only show me if the segment contains comments, for example. And then save those changes, and then I can just run that report again like that, and it'll do it again. And this time when I scroll down there, what I'm going to get is only the segments that have changed, so it becomes a much smaller report, and I can see just the changes that have been made. I can see just the comments if I like. So it's really simple, dead easy to use, and gives me just the information I want to see what changes have been made immediately at a glance between one file and the other, which is really, really cool. Now, the other cool things we can do with this, if I click on the compare directory of files, you can't make a mistake because this is now grayed out. You can't run the comparison because this is activated based on the tab that you're on, rather than files that might be in the hidden tab. So what I'm going to do now is I've got another folder down here called folders, and in here I've got some SDLXLIFF files in here. Just let me delete this one, that's from a previous one. So I've got post-edited and pre-translated files in 2 folders, and again the only difference is the date stamp, but I can drag this whole set of folders into SDLXLIFF Compare like that. It's picked them up correctly. The original directory was the pre-translated, the updated is post-edited, again based on dates, it's not based on the name of the folder. And then I can just click on my little report generator, and there we go, it's been through this time, and it's shown me that there were 4 files translated, and I can see each one of these as I scroll down, and I can see all the changes that were made in each of the files, or 5 files, sorry, not 4, all in one report. So very simple, very easy to use, and the same thing would apply to projects. So if I had complete projects like this, for example, where I've got a pre-translated project, so it's a studio project, it's multilingual in all sorts of different languages, I can take the 2 projects and I can drop those into here as well, like that. That's going to replace it now with the projects, and I can click on, oh, where you go again. Takes a little bit longer to process it this time because the things are much bigger. So total files processed are 25 files this time, so 5 different languages, 5 compared, and then it's going to go through and it's shown me the difference and all the work that was done on every single file. So we've been through the Spanish, we're into the French, we're down to, I guess, Italian, I suppose. And that's it. They're the only files that were changed. Or have I missed some as I was looking through it in a rush? Oh, and some German as well. So there we go. That's basically how it works. And just to show you what the custom style sheet would look like, the way to do the style sheet is quite interesting. So to begin with, you don't have a style sheet to work with, which can make it very difficult to edit it. I'll just use a single file for this, otherwise it's going to get a bit confusing with too many files. And if I just delete that report out of there so I can see it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to instead create, oh, not that one. Instead, I'm going to create XML files. And when I do that and just run the report, the little run, that gives me my comparison report. If I close those and come back down here, what you'll see this time is I have the XML file, but I also have the style sheet. And the style sheet means that I can now take that and copy it somewhere else and edit it. The style sheet just looks like this. So if you could probably make some simple changes without having to know anything really smart. So for example, you can see the titles of the report, the names that have been used and things like that. So you can make some fairly simple changes without having to get too complicated. If you really know what you're doing with style sheets, then you can change it to whatever you want. which can be really nice. So you could customize the report for your company or the company you're working for really easily. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back to here, because what I have done is I have customized the report, which I put here, and I'm going to come over here, change that back to HTML again, click on my settings, go to the customer style sheet and activate it this time, save and run my report. And this time you can see the difference between the reports. So I've only made a few simple things. I've changed the title, changed the colors a little bit, added a little image, put a contact detail in there. You can basically change anything you like in the report, but it gives it just a little bit more personalization. And it wasn't difficult to do. The whole thing I did this evening from scratch, so it was not complicated to do. And you should have lots of fun. So enjoy, and thank you, Patrick, for this fantastic application. I'm glad we've been able to resurrect it for Studio 2017.